Hey folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name's Matt and this is Crypto Heartbeat. It's 420. I know you Hexicans, some of you Hexicans, and what you do at 420. Folks, welcome back. This is all about heads or tails today. It is your choice to make. Are you leaving it all up to chance? That's the big question we're asking today. Are you leaving it all up to chance? Or it's all your choice. It's going to be an interesting one today. We're going to dive deep into it, but I'm so glad that you're here because we've got some cool things going on. I'm going to check some audio here first, and then we will jump into the chat and say hello to you. Yeah, it looks like we're doing pretty well. I hope you're doing well today. It's April 13th, and what does today it marks the end of? Today is the end of Passover. And that's an interesting time where the Jewish people recognize and respect and remind themselves of being called out of Egypt. Folks, we're all being called out of Egypt. We'll talk a little bit about that today, too. Hey, folks, this has been an exciting week. You probably saw from the intro. It was the intro from yesterday. We had Cece, the CEO of Liquid Loans, on, and that was a really cool discussion. If you missed that one, you may want to check it out. He was talking a lot about collaboration within the Pulse Chain community and how we take responsibility for the Pulse Chain and take responsibility by working together, realizing that it really is a gift that Richard has given all of us. And even though he said it many times that, the Pulse Chain was meant for Hex, well, that's good. But it's the rails that we can run on. And I'm so thankful for that because there's going to be so many new people coming into the Pulse Chain. And we want to do our best to be welcoming, but also to have the tools and resources to help you win. Because this may end up being the only sovereign alternative, my friends. There's two sides of this coin, if you know what I mean. Because ultimately, this is a battle between good and evil. And I hope you see which side you're on. Because you know what? Sometimes we're on different sides of this coin, but they're meant to be unified as one. And that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Actually, we're going to be starting an hour early. Steve Staggs is back, folks, for our Friday sessions where I invite you in to the conversations that I've been having with Steve Staggs for the last 6 months or so, and how he's been asking some amazing questions and challenging me from a spiritual perspective. That's a very different stream than the normal streams, but this will be the fifth installment in that series. And we go for about 2 hours. And boy, I'll tell you what, every time I come out of that with my mind blown and definitely refreshed and back into the understanding and having perspective. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt in this world. And it's good to have someone like Steve Stagg asking the tough questions and also challenging us to think deeply about why in the world are we here and what's your role? Are you an accident? I'm not an accident. I don't think you are either. And that's also very encouraging for people who I think are struggling these days. So, folks, thanks for joining the Pulse today. Let's say hello to you and then we'll get into the content. Heads or tails, it is your choice. Magnus, hey, Matt, what's going on? Good to see you. You're number one today, facing reality with the elbow cough, the dab for everyone. What's up, Vinny3? Hello, Texans. Good to see you. Hex on Air is in the house. Hex Force One. Hey, Matt. Hello, Tex Hexicans. Good to see you. You know what's interesting? And, I'm late to this party. You probably already knew this, but look at the word Hexicans. It's Hex and I can. I can. I think it's really cool. What a nice statement. You put those together, Hex. What does Hex mean? You can. You can. Hex, I can. Good to see you. David Lee, all the way from southwestern Indiana. He's back again for today. The legend of David Lee grows. And what is the legend of David Lee? He's 14 feet tall and he shoots lightning bolts out of his arse. No, actually, he drove 7.5 hours to my dad's funeral and he showed love and he showed, he showed what community is all about, helping out people in a time of need. So, David Lee, good to see you. Thanks for being here, buddy. Hope you are doing well. DGen Dougie Peach. Well, he's just DGen Dougie, but we'll never leave off the peach because you're Mr. Pink to me, if you know what I'm saying. Nico QLD from Brisbane, Australia. Thanks for being here. My understanding is it's quite early where you are. I'm guessing. It's early morning. John Amosu, good to see you. Let's go. Get me aliens heads. It is. All right, you're calling heads. I appreciate that. At least you're making a choice. Plan for Zen. Wow, there's a lot of talk of Zen these days. I had a little bit of a tussle with Mr. Jack himself. He threatened me, which I thought was really interesting of his character. But let's go Zen, bro. Drop it, man. Drop it. You know, it's interesting. Um, my dad always said that's why they make chocolate and vanilla. You know, we can coexist in this ecosystem, if you know what I'm saying. There is not one ring to rule them all. Do not be confused by that, my friends. Good evening, sir. John, thanks for being here. Wow, crypto's crazy tonight. There you go. It is crazy. Empty Corner saying hello. Ego Foundation in the house. The Peso dude, what's going on? Hey, guys, big gulps. Yeah, there are some big gulps around here, aren't there? I mean, literally big gulp. All right, cool. There we go. Lima Charlie, there you go. Tigray, what's going on? How much from the jungle? And there's much love from the jungle. Thanks for being here, Tigray. Evo is in the house. Anson, dude, where you been? Anson is back, folks. People are waking up out of hibernation like Crypto Panda and Anson. I haven't seen Anson in months and months and months. It's great to have you back. Thanks for being here. Urban Productions is in the house. It's day one of a good entry for Pulse. Is day one a good entry for Pulse? You know what? You know, let me know when day one is. I'd love to know that information myself. But yeah, I think that, you know, the start of anything, right? The beginnings of anything. But of course, you know, there's going to be some crazy volatility. And I don't know. Nobody knows. And, you know, there's no way of predicting it. Certainly, there's a lot of pent up energy and excitement and interest. And if you look at anything that has had that kind of excitement on day one of launch, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what the chart typically does. But you don't get that advice from me, right? Steve Staggs is priceless. There is no question about it. Tommy Viles, what's going on? Viles, sorry, apologize. Crypto Heartbeat, how are you, man? My favorite Christian. Wow. You know what's even funnier about that term? That's one of the big things Steve is really challenging me with is there's so much value in understanding the authority of naming rights. And maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow in the very term Christians. Who actually came up with that term? And so who has named us, if you will? And do you take that name? It's interesting. Number 345, your keys, your crypto NFT, the presence of glory. You know, Richard Hart's out for the glory. What does that mean? What is the glory? What are you out for? What do you want? I'm really curious. Extravagant Taste is in the house. I just follow the clues and the tails take care of themselves. There you go. Heads or tails? Nope. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh my gosh, you are so clever, my friend. Matt, I'm thankful you have flipped a coin and chosen not to ban me. Never in a million years, Extravagant Taste. It's great to have you here. Thanks so much. Paul Stemmick's back from Queensland. Thank you for being here. It's an early morning for you. I'm going to guess it is probably like 7:30 in the morning there. Moonrunner, hey, Matt. Getting nice to catch you live again. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'm going live later these days because there's just so much opportunity during the day for us. So pushing things till later because the days are full. Boy, I'm going to tell you, there's some exciting things happening behind the scenes. And so it's not just Pulse Chain launch. It's everybody is getting ready. And that means a lot of cool things are coming. So David Lee with the love. Anson, yeah, Pulse I Can. That's right. Pulse I Can. Opabamian, what's going on? Crypto Heartbeat stream. You're so positive. And May wife now asks if there is a new stream to listen to. Wow. Okay. I'm going to tell you something. This is probably one of the best compliments you could ever give me. Because I know how difficult it is to please the wife, if you know what I'm saying. And so I appreciate that a lot. You know, the intent from all of this. And if you watched yesterday's stream, I told you about Cece from Liquid Loans. He's the guy that inspired me because I'm listening to him. I'm like, we need people who talk like that. And I'm like, I can talk like that. And so, you know, Cece's kind of my inspiration for, you know, the way he talked about Hex. And I thought, you know what, we need to have that voice in this community. And it's not for everybody, right? Who wants to listen to Old Man Crypto Heartbeat? Well, there are certain people who do. And I think that, you know, the more we can integrate and the more we can unify people, even in their homes. Hey, here's a guy. He puts on a suit jacket, fixes up his hair. He talks, you know, professionally about things and is also considering really the real reasons, right? What's the heartbeat behind this whole Pulse chain, baby? Nico, what's going on? 7:30 a.m. Sun's up, guns up. Beautiful day, 26 degrees Celsius. Moonrunner. Hey, Matt, nice to catch you live again. Thanks for being here. Drix is back. Peso Dude, what's going on? Airtoe and Academaciated, welcome back. Somebody's got to tell Jack, don't mess with Texas. That's right. You know, I like Jack. Jack's doing his own thing. He's a smart guy. And you know what? You got to pick a horse to ride, right? You got to flip that coin. You got to figure out what it is that you're going to ride. And, hey, that's great. Everybody makes their choices. Sorry for that buzzing, folks. Still having issues here. I'm going to make sure I mute. Let's see if I can get that on here. Do not disturb. All right. Texan Tailgate, what is going on, Forrest? Good to see you, man. I'm going to get that mic back up and working, but I had my computer crash, so I'm still without the new mic setup, but this one seems to be doing well. Urban Productions is here. Frankie, what's going on? Frankie says, relax, catching live for once. Thanks for being here. Wow, this is fan. Dan Jersenkowski's back. Man, Dan, what's going on? Happy to catch you live. By far the most interesting Mexican YouTuber. Well, interest is, I guess, dependent on how you see things. And, if you've been on this earth as long as I have, you learn a couple things. And what you kind of learn is you don't know a whole lot of things. And I think as we journey together in this, people need to be encouraged. They need to be lifted up. And we need to also think about and constantly be reminded that money is just a tool, folks. It is just a tool. How are you going to animate that tool for good or for evil? That's part of our theme today. Steve Wright, like always, thanks for the uplifting content. Very much appreciated by all. Steve Wright from Santa Barbara. Beautiful, beautiful Santa Barbara. Urban Productions, Hex Pulse. Pulse X is my last hope for life change. It's not your last hope, but it is definitely got some hope assigned to it. There's even a thing called sudden wealth syndrome, and some people are like, I want to catch that. That's what I want to catch next. But what does that really mean? It's a shock to your system when everything changes. What are you going to do? Do you have a plan? Because you may find yourself in abundance, but you also may find that the people around you that didn't listen are not. You ever hear the story of Joseph, right? Joseph and his amazing Technicolor dream coat. If you know that story, you know what I'm saying. My wife always listens to you with me. She loves your take on life as well. Thank you, Nico. Thanks so much. That means a lot to me because it's a lot of dudes, if you know what I'm saying, and it's nice to have some fresh perspectives. And so, love the feedback. Thank you so much for that. Liberty or Death says Tails, and the only one. The only one sent me a text, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about the running of the bulls. And I made a mistake. I said it was in Pamplona, which is in Spain. And I made some reference to my Italian friends. And I was like, what an idiot. Pamplona's in Spain. But he told me an amazing story about how he ran with the bulls and how the bulls got a hold of his backside. And that was awesome to hear. Another great story from the only one. Hex Edits, what's going on? Mark Hanretta, appreciate all your insightful thoughts. Thanks so much. Anson, everyone should be free to be what they want to be. Wow, free to be, you and me. I remember that from the 70s. Hexican, Pulsican, Zenian, Shibian. You can tell all at the same time. Yeah, and you know what? There's not one ring to rule them all, right? So yeah, get yours. Get in. Just get in, folks. Get in. This is going to be a ride of your life. This is such an amazing time in human history. The fact that we've got this opportunity. What are you talking about? What you talking about? There's also sudden loss of wealth and crypto syndrome. There you go. That's true. Yeah, in the beginning for that change. Ophir Crypto, if you're somebody that didn't catch a lot of these opportunities, Ophir Crypto out of the Philippines, led by John Firestarter 88, is still in their donation phase for Gem Effect, which helps literally these rural churches, 3,000 to 5,000 rural churches. And there's some big news coming out of the Philippines. I'm meeting with him on Monday, and I'm really excited about the people that are coming on board and their influence, if you know what I'm saying. That's all I can say right now. Paul Op the 7th, hello all, good to see you. And David Lee with the prayers. Folks, let's get into the content. Thanks for being here. We got 51 folks. Heads or tails? Heads or tails? Are you leaving it all up to chance? If you think about the money, right? There's a head side and there's a tail side. And from my last, 6 months of talking with Steve Staggs, there's this big theme that's come out of it. And that is this idea of there are two sides of every coin. In those two sides of every coin, it's interesting. It is really a picture of our own ability to make choices. So I got a call the other day from my wife, and it was out of the ordinary. And she said, your son is in trouble. Isn't that what women say? That's what moms say. Your son is in trouble. So my son did three things he shouldn't have done back to back to back. And he got suspended. An 11-year-old kid getting suspended is pretty serious stuff. And he had a really difficult time with it. And of course, he was absolutely broken over it because he knew he had made a poor decision. But it required that I left the office and went up to school. And of course, Crypto Heartbeat going up to the school, jacket on and everything. And of course, he was in the principal's office and he was having a really difficult time. He was very sorry for this. But here's the thing that's really interesting. He comes out, he's coming out of the principal's office and I'm there and my wife's actually coming up as well. It's serious stuff. And he's like, right? So I'm a dad, right? Think about this for you. Your father, you are a father, you have a son, right? And of course, you have a different perspective. Remember when you were 11? Can you imagine he was so afraid to go to the principal's office? And I'd talk to the principal. And what was really interesting about it, he was literally petrified. He was terrified. And he was doing one of those, could barely breathe. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. And it was in some respects kind of sad. And so I said, hey, come on over here and sit down. And we were out in this kind of foyer area. No one was there. And we're sitting there and I sit next to him. I'm like, man, what happened? And of course, he just spilled all the beans on me. And I said, you know what? He was like, are you going to cancel my birthday? That's what my son said. How sad is that? He said, are you going to cancel my birthday? Think about this. And then think about yourself as a father. This is the real stuff of life, folks. And I sat next to him. I said, no, we're not canceling your birthday. No, dude, I said to him, I said, why was I put on this earth? Why did God put you in my life? Why did, he put me in your life? And he's like, because you love me. I said, yeah, I love you. I said, you know what? What are we dealing with today? You made some choices, my friend, and there are consequences for your choices. Doesn't mean I don't love you. You got to deal with them. I said, the whole point of this is the time to make the mistakes, my good boy. You're 11 years old. And he didn't really do that bad of stuff. But the point is, you can't do that stuff at school. And I said to him, I said, you made those choices, didn't you? And he said, yeah, I did. I said, you know what? My job in this world is 1, to protect you. 2, is to help grow and encourage and inspire good character in you. And 3, to model the way. How do we model the way? And I said, we have this ability to choose between good and evil. And it seems so simple, right? Heads versus tails. But we live in a world that heads is tails and tails is heads. As we've learned from Steve Staggs, it's upside down. And so oftentimes the things we think are good are actually bad. And we have to be on the lookout for them. But I said to him, I said, son, you need to understand that we learn how things work and we make choices. And those choices, hopefully, we daisy chain good choices together. And that's my job, is to help build character in you so you know the difference between good and evil. And then you decide and choose as much as humanly possible to daisy chain those good things together. And of course, he was really, really fearful. And here's the thing I think that is really amazing to me about how all this stuff works is that I think so many times as younger people, we think that love is a feeling, right? You get in love, and you got the endorphins going and, all the things that are related to, to romantic love. But when you really boil it back, it's separating out the actions of people from the character and the human part of people. And so I would encourage you, if you're a parent, is to really communicate. I said to him, there is nothing you can do that will separate you from the love I have for you. However, there are decisions that you can make that are very concerning, and I will have to discipline you for those things, but it's because I love you. I mean, kids obviously don't understand this, but when you separate the actions from the person, kids don't realize these things, but you have to define those because I think so many of us were raised in a world where we were our performance, we were our actions. We were judged based on how we performed. And it was almost like to parents or to people, what have you done for me lately? You're only as good as you can create value for me, kid. And in good parenting, we have to understand that the value of a child isn't, conditional. Love is not conditional in a family. And as we look at this community that we're building here, that's what makes it special, right? There's not judgment, there's not condemnation, there's love because there is grace and understanding. And that's why people are high fiving because we're winning together. But I talk about this story as an intro to this topic to say there's a choice we make. My 11-year-old son, you chose poorly, son, and you have to pay the consequences for that. I've told you many stories about my father in law's mother, who, when she was 17 years old, her mother died. And at that time in the 30s, the body of mom was at home in a 3-room house. And if it wasn't for those 3 church ladies coming and getting her and saying, come on up to the church, it changed the very trajectory of her life. And that ended up blessing multiple generations, including me and my kids. And so the things we don't think about is the choices that we're making each day and what impact they have. Because I'll tell you something. One of the things I've recognized in starting this channel is that you get credit for showing up. And so I would ask you this, what are you doing consistently? You're probably watching crypto content, right? You're imagining a future. Well, that's important, right? Having a plan, having a vision for what the future may look like for you and for those you care about. But I also want you to get perspective, right? So oftentimes we get ourselves wrapped around the axle and we're like, man, things are really tough for me. And then you realize, hold on a second. Actually, I have a lot to be thankful for. And so when I look at this concept of heads or tails, good or evil, right? The choices that we make, whether you're a Zenite or you're a Pulsican or you're a Pulsexican or you're a Hexican or a Texan, whatever it may be, you have those choices to make. And you want to make informed decisions. You want to do your own research. But I think that there's a prevailing wind in this world. And that prevailing wind is one that is pointing towards growth. And mean your own personal growth, the growth of potentially the monetary system, the growth of the population. But what we want is we want forward progress. And that is baked into this whole system. And so if you back out from this and we put a crypto theme on this, you need to see what's actually happening. The prevailing wind that's been blowing in a consistent direction for the last 100 years is about to change direction. The United States dollar has been the world's reserve currency for the last 100 years. And before that, there was an empire before that, Britain, right? This was the folks, the English. They had the reserve currency. The Dutch had it as well. The Portuguese had it. If you look at the opportunities that's afforded all the way through the Industrial Revolution and everything that's kind of came since then, a lot of progress has been made, technology, all kinds of things. And a lot of that is built on the back of having this advantage. And that advantage is, hey, everybody's doing business in our currency. It's obviously not going to happen overnight, but there are those, in my opinion, that have aligned themselves through their choice making with evil. Now, a lot of people think when you use the term evil, they think, well, it's got to be some horned guy with a pitchfork and like red spandex on. Get that idea out of your mind. Because in this upside down world, we are believing a lie. And sometimes those lies are so subtle that we don't even recognize them for what they are. And, Steve corrected me the other day because I said to him, the people of Texas deserve the right to vote. He said, no, stop it. Think about what the words you're saying. They don't deserve anything because the authority that's given to the government comes from the people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I even used the wrong language. Think about this for a second. The government exists because the people gave it authority. But when you say the people of Texas deserve the right to vote, you come up underneath the authority of the state. And he was 100% right. So we have to think that's the upside down world, right? Even the language is upside down. So you know what he said? He said to me, he said, the people of Texas demand the right to vote. And he said, how is that different? And I was like, wow, that is very different. It says the authority, we retain that authority because what are we called to do? To rule and subdue. We have power to exercise, and we do that through the making of choices. Some of those choices are simple. Hey, where we're going to have lunch today, or what pair of shoes am I going to put on? But then there are very consequential choices that we make as well. Whatever habits that we are continuing, whether we are healthy or not, certain relationships, addictions, all kinds of choices that we make. And it's hard because those things are bondage for us. But what's amazing about this is you see something in crypto, and I'm going to try to define it for us because I think we have this common, we very rarely articulate what it is, but it's a common experience that we have, whether you're an OG or not. Everybody out there that's in crypto saw Bitcoin, and you saw that big run, right? Remember the run to 10,000? And you're like, yeah, this funny money turned into something real. And then of course you went and saw it up to 69,000. And of course you heard stories about people that lost a bunch of it, and you realize, wow, if you would have hung on to that. And then you hear stories about people who had it and sold it. And then you see along comes Ethereum. And Ethereum did a 14,000x to the top. That's unbelievable. When you start talking in X's instead of percentages, you know you're dealing with something unusual. The S&P 500, they suggest that on average it goes up 8% per year, right? There are times when crypto goes up 8% an hour or a minute. This is highly unusual. Your grandparents didn't have this experience, right? I don't know anyone throughout history who had this kind of full-scale shift. So if the prevailing wind is about to shift when it comes to authority in the world, you've got two sides of the coin. On one side, you have people who are trying to control it. Because when things get out of hand, like if you're used to having the power, right, and you see the power slipping, what do? Right? You know that book Of Mice and Men? I love it, I call it, I love it, and I rub it, and I squeeze it, and I call it George. And what did he do to that little mouse? He killed it because he squeezed it so hard. This is what the people who see control slipping away from them, because in the past it had been easy. Things didn't leak out in the past because we didn't have communication networks. People weren't able to communicate and to get into community. So you went down to the movie theater and you saw the newsreel about what was happening in the Allied forces across the ocean, right? Well, that's propaganda, right? That's what they wanted you to hear. And that's what people heard. And they were like, oh, yeah, it's better to not know what is happening over there. And we're kind of one voice. Well, this is because of the nature of technology and trade and communications. It's gotten to the point where you're like, wow, this is ugly. Well, those people that have had control and have been used to having control, we saw it with Trump coming in. They were like, we had this whole thing figured out. We had all these politicians in America bought and paid for. We had a whole plan. And this guy Trump came along and really messed things up because, hold on a second, we can't buy this guy. And he's trying to, drain a swamp? No, we took a lot of time to build this swamp. No, this is working out well for us. We don't want you messing things up. Well, as we see this prevailing wind shifting now, and we see the globalist and all these people going, hey, I'm losing control. What do? They squeeze it. They're like, oh, I need to squeeze it more and more. So we see this rise of authoritarian. Because what do you do when you're losing control? You try to squeeze harder and control it more. You don't go, okay, I guess we're losing now. We'll just go home. You can have this new financial system. No. And what happens? They're tied to the war machine. See, folks, I want you to recognize the fact that what we're doing here in community has so many implications beyond what you can fathom, because you're just thinking about yourself. A lot of people are. But when you back out from this thing and you realize that the entire financial system is changing and that Pandora's box is open, that those that were in centralized control no longer have complete control of it. They can't sit back. It's deteriorating right before their eyes. And so, what do people do? Well, in the past, you'd fight a war and you would kill everybody. Then you'd take the plunder, right? The gold and silver, and then you'd rewrite the rules in your favor and you'd start again. And then you'd lord it over people and then you would spend yourself out of existence. And then what would happen? You'd fight a war. You'd either conquer someone else or you'd be conquered and they would rewrite the rules. This is the first time in human history where the financial power and the military power have been separated. Think about that for a second. And that's not my original idea. Raoul Pal talked about that, and that inspired me. The first time in human history where military power and financial power have been separated. What does that mean? Well, if we decentralize the money and it's in the D-Gen Dougie Peach's hand, or in Sandy B the dude's hand, or in David Lee's hand, they aren't going buying missiles, right? You're not a part of the war machine. You're a regular person that's worked hard. And it's like, well, this world that we're in is about extracting value from you. What the creature from Jekyll Island, the book, the Federal Reserve is a system of extraction. Our whole imperial world, colonization, all these things is about going in and taking over and extracting value, getting yours, right? It's competitive. And I'm a huge fan of capitalism, but I'm not a fan of crony capitalism. But that's the thing. It's like setting up this, it's based on corruption, it's based on scarcity, and it's based on extraction. Before you wouldn't be able to do that. Get together with your friends and high five them and say, hey, we're winning and creating a whole new ecosystem. I want you to see Richard Hart in a new way. Richard Hart is an innovator who sees things before they happen. You may agree with me or not. I believe it's true. Long before all of these crises were happening, Richard Hart said, hey, we're going to sacrifice for freedom of speech. You're like, oh, that sounds good. That just sounds like kind of a plan to get out of doing an ICO, right? That's what most people that are practical, that are in crypto think. No, he meant it. Why? Because he saw what was coming, right? Censorship resistant. That's what crypto was made for. But he saw the censorship. And then he said, freedom of movement. You can't move? Well, look what we had when he was doing the Pulse X sacrifice. Oh, yeah, there was this like pandemic thing and everybody was locked in their homes. You should have the freedom to move. And now he's talking about freedom of transaction. And guess what he'll say next? You heard it here first. It's the freedom to privacy. Well, when you start thinking about these things, who in crypto, I don't care what you think of them, who is communicating and has actions that back it up to build a vertically aligned ecosystem that could help set the captives free? And what I mean by that is this Pulse Chain ecosystem is way more than, it's just kind of a tool to make Hex tradable. It's not. And if that was your plan, well, you got more than you bargained for, because it's way bigger than that. And I know Richard Hart knows that. Folks, this may be the alternative to the CBDCs. So let's talk about it. Why is the theme heads or tails? Because one side of it is evil and the other side of it is good. Well, is it purely good? Well, it's good if you choose good. But guess what you could do? You could take it and use it for evil. Now, you don't have as many resources some of these big governments do. But here's the thing. We have the opportunity for a whole new paradigm, right? This idea that Balliet Brand, I did that interview with him. I talk about it all the time. He's like, Matt, when $100 turns into $1 million, and when $1,000 turns into $10 million. And I literally was like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's what happened with Hex. That's a 10,000X. You know that, right? I'm like shaking my head going, no, I don't know what that's like. $100 turned into $1 million, folks. $100. $1,000 turned into $10 million. Now, did anyone actually experience the 10,000X? No, likely not. But the point of it is clear. This is highly unusual. So the big question I've got for you is, do you see The actions that you're taking today, whatever they may be, are you daisy chaining together actions that help support and encourage and strengthen your chosen horse? I don't care what it is, but in the context of what is happening essentially in the macro, the global. Are you considering those things? Because here's the thing that's amazing. We in community take back our authority because they have, and what I mean by this, those that are aligned with evil forces, those that are extraction, scarcity minded people who are seeing their control slip away will not go away quietly. It's a battle between good and evil. It's a real battle. It's like war. But what I mean by that is the people have the authority. You have the authority. You've been lied to and told that your rights come from the state. Your rights do not come from the state. Your rights come from the creator. The very nature of who you are with your creative ability is the value. You are the value. Remember the Matrix, right? They compared it to a Duracell battery. You are the product. And the systems that have been set up to extract from you. This is one of the greatest opportunities in our lifetime, and I see it for what it is. What happens when the people in the Philippines scratch together $100 a USD between like 3 generations of families, which to you is probably not much money? And what happens if Ophir Crypto has some amazing experience, kind of like Hex? How would you feel if someone else won like you've won? Or how would you feel like the only way to win is if other people won? I'm telling you right now, that's how we change the system and take back the authority and we rule and have dominion over this new thing. Because one way or the other, whether it happens in a big bang or whether it happens incrementally and the US dollar bleeds out, we're going to benefit from it. If you can stick around and not nuke your account, we're going to benefit from this because this is the transition period. This is where the dollar slips away. The globalists are under attack and they're going to continue to squeeze and control and to regulate, thinking they're doing the right thing. But what are they doing? They're killing the golden goose. And meanwhile, because Pandora's box was opened by Satoshi, if we can stick to the principles of true decentralization, not fake decentralization. And what is true DeFi? No admin keys, no central organization, no business, right? There's no head on this snake. And the problem with people right now in crypto is the people that are in the legacy financial system that are considering crypto always ask the same question. Hey, what's your utility? Do you know in order to provide utility in a contract, you have to have a business? And guess what? A business can be served documents from regulators. Richard Hart may be the person who created Hex, but it was a finished product and it still is. And if he's gone, it still exists. That's not a utility of a company. Because if you take out the company, the utility's gone and the price goes to zero. There is no product. It's an immutable contract that you engage with. That's the true tenets of DeFi. Censorship resistance, no middlemen. Hold your own keys. It is a massively big idea. But this is one that takes over. So why Texan token? Why am I interested in Texas independence? Because here's the thing. The regulators are going to get to the point where they're going to mess so much. They've already messed with our kids. They're messing with culture. They're messing with the family. And now they're about to mess with our money. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Don't mess with our money. So here's the thing. Do you want to have to move to some third world country because they're crypto friendly? Or do you want to have the 9th largest economy in the world, the state of Texas, be the greatest place on planet Earth for crypto? A place that has all the infrastructure and all the resources underneath our feet. It's called Texas Tea. That's what's at stake, folks. We are building a new future through considering others in addition to ourselves. So the people of Texas don't deserve anything. They demand it. It'll happen one way or the other. But here's the thing. Those that are losing power will continue to do everything to lash out to try to maintain control. But I've read the book and I know how this finishes. They are up against a divine decree. Do you see yourself as a winner? And what does winning mean? I think the winning means in this scenario, understanding that fundamentally we only win when other people win. That's it. You can't win alone in this scenario. This is the reason that John Nash won the Nobel Prize in 1994 is because he recognized the Nash equilibrium is if you consider others in addition to yourself, you all win. But if you just watch out for yourself, you may win, but others will lose. That's the scarcity. That's this. So here's the thing. It's essentially like a cartel. Huh. Wow. What's a cartel that's acting out of compassion? Oh, that's a compassion cartel. What's a cartel but a group of people that collude with one another for good? Well, not always for good. It could be a drug cartel. But when it comes to this world that we're living in, we have to understand what we're a part of. It's two sides of a coin. You benefit financially, but you also contribute to something that preserves it because it creates a new system. Richard Hart, in my opinion, will go down in history as a name like Henry Ford. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile. Carl Benz did. He didn't invent the internal combustion engine. What he did was he innovated on how it got to the people. Do you know Richard Hart actually, his genius isn't coding? His genius is actually human psychology and understanding that you could program money to fit the values and the needs of the people. It's called product market fit. And so why is this the world's largest airdrop with the Pulse Chain? Because he knows that people need incentive to care. He's a genius. But he innovates. He didn't say, well, we'll just copy the system state and get everybody their coins and we'll call it the world's largest airdrop. No. He said, no, we're going to make it deflationary. Oh, then you know what he said? We're going to create a DEX. Oh, you're going to get half the pair for free because we copied the system state. And oh, by the way, you're going to have this unbelievable yield farming opportunity. And that's not all, folks. It's deflationary and has a buyback and burn function. What do you mean buyback and burn? K4K? Every single transaction that happens on PulseX, a piece of that protocol fee is going to go to buy one thing and one thing only, and that is PulseX. And guess what it does after it buys it? It burns it. It's always a buyer, never a seller. That's the innovation of Richard Hart. What's he going to do with the wallet? What's he going to do with the privacy token? What's he going to do with the future of the Pulse Chain? This is true innovation. If you don't see it for what it is, sorry, you're going to miss out. But it's way more important than just when Lambo and, oh, I get rich. You are going to get rich in the process. But understand that as we participate in this, this is a battle between good and evil. Those that have aligned themselves with evil forces that want to extract and want to use you as a Duracell battery, Neo, get out of the matrix, folks. When you unplug from that system, what ends up happening is you see opportunity. And then you see the timing of everything. We're at the bottom of the bear market, folks. There's only one place to go, and that's up. I don't know if we've actually hit the bottom, but I know as this prevailing wind shifts and we got the jib and we redirect the sail, we have wind at our back because this box has been opened. The cat's out of the bag. We are going to build a new future. We're going to rewrite the rules. But here's the thing. We're not going to kill people to do it. We're going to love people to do it. And that's why I always talk about David Lee, because he is modeling the behavior that says to us, you're going to be tempted to crush people. You're going to be tempted to yell at them because they don't like the crypto you like and judge people and point them out. And no, folks. There's not a person that you see in Twitter and there's not a person that you see in all of this stuff that understands DeFi that's not your friend, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And we need Richard Hart to be the leader of this. He is the leader. He has the vision. He has the intellect. He has the stamina. And folks, we need to play our part. We're building something on the Pulse Chain. We're bringing in new people into the ecosystem. Why? Because I feel like if I don't tell you about this stuff, you're going to be really mad at me when you see the next 10,000x on whatever token that may be. I don't know what it is. But you can taste it. You can smell it when you go to church and pay your taxes, Mr. Anderson. Follow the white rabbit, my friends. But you have a choice to make. You have a choice to destroy, or you have a choice to create. You have a choice to critique, or you have a choice to commend. That's our opportunity. So what are you going to choose to do? Are you going to build people up? Are you going to encourage them? Are you going to help them win with you? Are you going to help them on board? Are you going to give them, your time and effort and energy to show them the way? You're going to do everything you can to turn yourself inside out to say, hey, folks, we win together. And if we can come together in community, we can stand up to this evilness, which is control, lack of privacy, social credit scores, digital IDs, CBDCs, and potentially implanted marks. If we don't understand what's at stake and work and effort towards it and collaborate in the pulse chain, I believe we have a chance still to create an alternative to a destructive, extractive, dominating, oppressive, authoritarian system that wants to squeeze the life out of you. Choice is yours. Heads or tails. You get to choose, and it's the little choices that you make. So learn from my son. Daisy chain good choices together, my friends, because we have a very bright future, and recognize that even our language is upside down. You have authority to choose what choice you're going to make. Join me tomorrow with Steve Staggs at 10 a.m. Central Time, because we're going to be talking about this idea of what does it really mean to make a choice, and what are the choices that we make. We're going to talk about it. This is just a cool experience. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Let's get back into the chat, say hello to you, then we'll sign off. And then I got to go over to the school because we're having a big fundraiser there. Just what we need, right? Come on, Crypto Heartbeat, give us more money. I know how that works. Mark Henretta. I don't know if I'm picking up at the right spot or not. Appreciate your insightful thoughts. Thanks so much. Everyone should be free to do what they want. Oh, yeah, I was there. I saw that. Sudden Wealth and Crypto. Oh, here we go. Hot in your home state today. Acting emaciated. Once you get about February 15th, it's completely, roulette when it comes to heat around here. Sometimes it's 90 and sometimes it's 40. I got my Ophir extravagant taste. Get yours. Dude, that's great. Well, what you got was thank you for being generous to Gem Effect, which is the nonprofit organization that's serving these churches. You are having a direct aid benefit in philanthropy to people who are challenged. That's really nice. You're going to get a free airdrop of no value Ophir tokens for being generous. Thanks for your generosity. And thank you for Richard Hart for doing the Sens Foundation and showing us that it can be done this way. T. Gray, don't be afraid to take profits on the way up. Of course. You're not in this to be a martyr. Make a plan in advance because it's coming. T-Hex, what's going on with the muscle and the rocket? And there's Hexaquin. Sorry I'm late. I was watching the train wreck, which is the performance art of Richard's fake brother. That's pretty cool. What does he call himself? Young Schuler or something like that? Please like, share, and subscribe. We're really close to 10,000 subs here. I'd really love to get it up there before the Pulse Chain launches. So that means I have about 8 more months. I'm joking. Hexaquin, thanks for being here. Your son learns crypto and he won't require the propaganda camps. He's learning it. You know what's funny is, he wants all these things. He's sucked into Roblox. And I'm like, dude, this is set up. You keep coming to me for this stuff. I'm like, bro, I'm going to teach you how the system works, my friend. But yeah, and that's the cool thing about what does it mean to be an heir or to inherit, right? That's one of the things God says to us is that you're part of my family. Well, what is the Father's is yours. And we see that with the prodigal son, this idea, I'm going to put the ring and the robe on you and I'm going to welcome you back. I'm going to kiss your face and I'm going to kill the fattened calf. I'm going to welcome you back in. And that's this picture of us coming back home. Acceptance, love. What's up, Sandy B, the dude? Crypto Heartbeat got the nest hair. That's actually a what would that be? That would be a Freudian slip. Is there a bird in there? Sandy be the dude. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I hope I win some sort of award for that. Sam Kemp, you know who has the best hair, in my opinion, is Matty Crypto. Matty Crypto's got the hair. He grew like the best goatee in the world. It was amazing. He had like a handlebar mustache. MJ Money, what's a good OMG Hexy Quinn? What a clown that guy is. I think Hexy Quinn likes to see train wrecks. Yeah. Yeah. She was on the last one. I was tuning in. I'm like, there's Hexy Quinn. You can't help it, right? It's like a train wreck or whatever, a car accident. You just like can't take your eyes off it. What's up? Bullish on love. There you go, Sandy be the dude. Hey, that's the only way to fly. Liberty to death. Being a Democrat means standing on your head and telling the rest of the world they're upside down. Yeah, and you know what's interesting about party systems and all that? You know, we tell ourselves these stories, and you know we're kind of taught to hate each other. That's this culture war. And I was thinking about this for a second. I don't know about you, and I'm going to tell you a personal story. My uncle was gay, and he died of AIDS. Not too many people would share that publicly. My uncle was gay and he died of AIDS. I loved my uncle. He taught me so many cool things. He was such a neat guy. And actually, I learned a lot from him. He's part of my family. And it was very, very sad to watch him die. But when you stare at your dad in the casket and when you've seen these things, you realize somebody gets into an accident out front of your house and you run out there to help. You don't ask them who they voted for. And I think that that's what's so amazing about the Hexican community. No one's asking you, who do you love? No one's asking you, who'd you vote for? This upside down world is driving a wedge between us. And the question is, do we see people as having value, inherent value? Because this is what everybody talks about. I listen to all these videos and see this. They're like, billions and billions of years ago, you crawled out of the soup and we evolved into this. That's not true, folks. You don't get your rights from the state, but this is how this extraction model, it puts you in a position of submission. That's a good one, man. The position of submission. And it convinces you that you are lower than the animals. You're just one of them. In God's hierarchy, that's the low spot, right? And then Satan, who is the serpent, is on his belly. And pretty much if you listen to this world, your authority is below the serpent. When in reality, the opposite is true. You've been given creative ability, which is your ability, the sweat of your brow, your labor. It's what is the actual money. It's you. Everything else is a proxy for your labor. If you really understood this, you'd realize, no, we run the show here. But we run the show in community and in love, and everyone's trying to get in between us. The middlemen are trying to get in between our money, right? The evilness is trying to get in between us and say it's the Democrats. I don't like those policies myself. I'm a very conservative person, but I know what their tricks are like. And I don't mean the Democrats' tricks. I know what the devil's tricks are. And it's about wedges. And I'm going to tell you what. You show love to people, they appreciate it, regardless of what their political affiliation is. And you know what? One thing I know, God exists and I'm not him. Anyone think any of the God-given senses is out of style, fell for the okie dokie? Feel how you feel. It's natural. Okay, I'm not sure I read that right. Apply common sense. Absolutely. Drix, wow. Crypto should and must remain nonpartisan, policy over party. Yeah, and I think that that's the cool thing. It is inherently that way, Drix, is it's part of the lie. Now, I fall into it myself, right? I see the clown world stuff and I basically say, look, this is you guys. But then the same thing is true on the other hand. You see it. There's extremes on both ends. When we start seeing the humanity in each other and we recognize that, no, I need to defend your right to free speech and your right to all of these things. And you know what? You can have an opinion that's not mine. That's great. But I understand your inherent value. But this world and the rational world of science is saying you're just the same as a monkey or a dog because everyone just evolved into this. Folks, you don't have to look around and pay attention to the differences between us and the animals to understand that there's something going on here. And it is not of your own creation or the accidental bumping into of atoms that turned into you. CryptoPez, yo, Matt, you're streaming later now. My view is we're still under the British Empire. When did we end it? You think about it, it was never really dissolved. It just went under the radar. There's a lot to be said for that when it comes to the bloodlines. You could even say even more that the rulers that go all the way back, right, to the early days, to the Babylonians. You could say all the way back that it's still under control. And that even the British Empire was just a puppet of the masterful bloodline system. But that's for another stream. That's a rabbit hole stream that we'll go down. But I appreciate that, CryptoPez. Tin Top, what's up, Hexicans? Tigray, ETH ain't done yet. There you go. Hey, things are really pumping. But this is one of the things that we're going to see. I believe that as this wind shifts and we see people, they're losing faith in these systems, right? US dollar. We spend ourselves out of control. Nobody pays back their sovereign debt. And so what we're seeing is a shift. Well, what do people do when they're scared? They rush to places they believe are going to be safe havens. And crypto is that. It's the new gold. And it's a lot easier to deal with, right? Lugging around gold, that's heavy stuff. Hex Softball says, love the channel, brother. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Men losing power equals dangerous. They'll crash the plane with disregard. That's the truth. Hex Softball, 100%. The parties of opposition and controlled opposition, the uniparty, the establishment trying to maintain power. Yeah, they're in cahoots. And you don't have to pay attention to the political class to recognize that they're like, after they're yelling at each other, they're out having drinks, if you know what I'm saying. Drinks and rewrite history. That's the truth. What's up? Checks my pulse in the house. At the captive's free. Let's go. Oi, oi. Red squirrels in the house. I put 150 of ETH and it went to 1.5 million. Still staked, never touched it. Wow. Wake Dog, you are an OG of all OGs. If you put $150 into ETH, that means you were in early. And it went up to 1.5 million. It's still staked ETH. Never touched it. Good for you. Good for you. That's discipline right there. Balla is true. David Lee, what's going on? Urban Production says, hopefully me, Wake Dog, in the near future. Hopefully me, Wake Dog. Exactly. But that's the hope. That's why you're here. Because you feel it. You sense it. It's possible. There's no other stories in history. Well, yeah, the entire financial system changed and all these regular people got massive amounts of abundance and they took care of people around them and changed the very nature of society because they changed the rules to be more equal and more fair. Huh. That sounds like what's happening right now. Don't mess with Texas. David. Tortoise Johnny, I prefer using the double-headed coin, sir. There you go. You're a magician. I am the Egyptian magician. Anybody who knows that reference, shout it out in the chat. I am the Egyptian magician. Hex My Pulse, 85 today in Massachusetts, sitting in the sun in the backyard with the chickens, getting your vitamin D. That's the way to do it. Alan Fizame, what's going on? I almost went to Revere Beach today. Ooh. The question is, did you watch the train wreck that Hexy Quinn was watching? Immutable in the house. Let's see who else is here, and then we'll wrap it up. Did you say quinoa? No, I didn't. Although that would have been funny. What a word that is. The legendary David Lee. Man, the legend grows. Come Get Me Alien says, Texas, let's go. Texas is doing some pretty interesting things as it relates to crypto. Rolling D20s, baby. When you say D20s, I have to figure that one out. This one, it's a bit lost on me. I need Rags to translate for me. I literally almost put a couple of ETH on the lowest day of Hex and told myself I could get it lower, even though I bought around then. Never try and pick bottoms and always take some action. People talk about DCAing. That makes sense. Noise. I'm in Dartmouth. Man, Dartmouth on the banks of the old Raritan. I have a Hexican in Boston who wants to meet up with this summer. Nice place. Yeah, there's no question about it. Tigray says, glassy waves, new clients, and making dinner for friends. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing it with you. And then talk about one of the hardest working people in all of Hexico. Abit Hex is here. When Lambo. Amen to that, bro. And I love the reference. When Lambo. Don't care about Lambos, just the basics of roof, food, freedom from debt. Yep, free the captives from debt slavery. Abed is giving me a hard time because he knows that I push back on the one Lambo all the time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Climb to 10,000. Absolutely. Thanks for doing that. If you're not subscribed, please do that. We do this pretty much every day. And tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we've got Steve Staggs back for episode number 5. That'll break your brain. I got to put that into a playlist so people can watch that. Richard Hart should receive Nobel Award, Richard Hart, for president. I think Richard Hart should stay in his lane, bro. He needs to fix the money. Like I think he's on the right track, and I think the more focused, the more disciplined, the more he messages about advocating for people. If I were to give Richard Hart some advice, this is what I would say. You're right on with freedom of speech. You're right on with freedom of movement. You're right on with freedom of transactions. You're right on with freedom of privacy. You're right on with building a vertically aligned ecosystem that is going to defend freedom and sovereignty. You're right on with longevity and investing in things that help people be more healthy. Wow. Positive stuff that advocates for the health and wealth of people. I don't think you can go wrong there. I'm hosting a Twitter space Monday night, 7 p.m. Let's get crazy. All right. We're going to be on the lookout for that. Let's see who else. I'm going to jump through a number of these here. Love you guys. Tortoise Johnny, thanks for being here. Hexaquin, I've been living my life 2 weeks at a time for almost 2 years now. Isn't that the truth? 2 more weeks. Well, I guess it keeps us going, but it's coming soon. And when it gets here, you're just going to like, wow. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be in a spot to literally get on stream with Brandon and Crypto Panda and eat popcorn. I'm not going to have to like scramble. I have a feeling it's going to be like a thief in the night. All right. What do we got? My drive home, late to the game. Good to see you, Hexaquin. Are you going on the cruise, Alan? I wonder if you are, Alan. I'm not going to be there, but there's some really great people. Extravagant Taste. I've been on a Hex cruise for 2 years. Highly recommended. Yeah, it gives you buy back your time, man. Jamie Barker, greetings and salutations, sir. Fallen Comrade is here. Amish Muscle, man. Talk about folks that are back. Man, we saw all kinds of people coming back. Matt, you're literally my favorite man in crypto and founder at another level, brother. Amish Muscle, thanks so much for that. I appreciate it. I think you recognize when you're doing the things you're called to. And honestly, my whole life changed when I started this stuff, but it just keeps getting better because I realize the implications of it. Like, we're doing really meaningful stuff here. And the coolest thing about it is it's not just like, well, I'm bleeding out my eyes just to serve the cause. No, you benefit when you serve the cause. It directly impacts you. That's the amazing thing about it. It doesn't take a whole lot of sense to go, hey, if I help some other people, it helps me too. Well, let's help some other people. I love the Hex community. It's like the common sense community. Amen. You have to pass the IQ test to get in. So you're having Ricky's poor brother on your show. You know what? I considered it because here's the thing, though. I've realized he won't answer any questions that actually reveal that it's true. So it's not true. So until he's willing to prove it. But if he proves that he actually is, I'm the first guy to have him on my channel. Because if he's actually Richard's brother, what a neat story of redemption this could be. But if he's just trolling people, he can go away. All right, here we go. We're going to wrap this thing up. Evo, great stream. Thanks, Matt. Hey, thank you. We should do a Massachusetts meetup, the Sox game. There you go. Oh, the 20-sided die, man. A little D&D. Man, I have a D&D story. I can't tell you right now. Yeah, most property markets are dunking. Look at corporate real estate. Corporate real estate is going to absolutely fall off the table. They're used to having to refinance, and there are going to be so many. And then the pandemic also added to this stuff. But the people that own commercial real estate are going to get pounded, and that means the banks that gave them the loans are going to get pounded. And I think maybe that's part of the plan for the Fed. They're like, get rid of all these regional banks. Well, you just bank with us, the centralized planners. That's even more of a reason that we need Texas independence, and we need Richard Hart to launch the Pulse chain. Tail 7, I vote tails. Of course you do. Love you, Matt. You're a true patriot and have a huge heart. Hey, trying to do it, wearing it on our sleeves here sometimes. Yeah, Alan was on that. They had him on the Worst Damn Crypto Show, and it changed his life. He actually was on this last one with a security guard. It's so fun. It's really truly performance art, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Thanks for joining the Pulse today. It's a choice that you have to make. Is it heads or tails? You're going to choose good or evil. You're going to daisy chain good decisions together. Or are you just going to fly by the seat of your pants? Folks, we're in it to win it. And community and caring for one another and considering others in addition to yourself and getting out there and telling people about what you love about winning. Yeah, I don't care what the token is, but you got to share it. You got to participate and you got to support this vertically aligned ecosystem because I believe it is our shot to free the captives from debt and consumer slavery. Folks, take care of yourself and do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody.